早安，开场一样，喜欢我们直播欢迎点赞、订阅、开启小铃铛，然后一起来直播上面聊天哦。那一样，现在看下匈人的科技树跟历史跟科技树吧。匈人是来自中亚蒙古大草原一带的游牧民族，因为气候改变，从3世纪开始往西方迁徙。天生的骑手非常熟于马背作战，善于使用长矛跟弓箭。常常是一家大小带着成群的木马跟牲畜迁徙，寻找新的目的。在军事上剽悍精炼，所向无敌。之所以会西迁，是因为他们本身也受到了其他民族的攻击跟赶离。这个骨牌效应让庞大人口涌出君士坦丁堡跟东罗马帝国，甚至溢出多瑙河跟莱茵河地区。最后在476年压垮了西罗马帝国。匈奴人在寻找他们的理想住所，最后定居在东欧洲的匈牙利大草原上面。那因为需要非常辽阔的草地，提供马匹跟牲畜饲料，以结盟跟征讨的方式控制了大片的平原，从俄罗斯的乌克兰山地到法兰西的莱茵河。匈奴人是优秀的骑手，从孩童时候就开始接受训练。有些人认为马镫是他们发明的，可以让骑手平握的枪斧下攻击，增加作战能力。机动性高，可以在1天内多次替换马匹，让他们不断前进。另外一个利器是复合弓，比西方使用的弓更胜一筹，可以踩着马镫前后左右开弓。战术的特色是闪电攻击，一支轻骑兵的部队，政治组织需要一个强大的领袖带他们完成目标。在阿提拉统治的期间，匈人的势力达到顶峰。在433年，他成为了匈人的领袖，开始往俄罗斯的南方跟波斯发动一连串的攻击，造成了极大的恐慌跟破坏。然后他就接受共金，将注意力转往巴尔干半岛。450年，西罗马帝国成为下一个目标，带领着10万大军横过美英之北部的莱茵河地区，推进了100英里途中，掠夺了法国北部的许多城镇。当阿提拉围攻奥尔良城的时候，罗马将军伊提乌斯率领着高卢人跟罗马人组成的军队对抗阿提拉，在最重要的沙龙一役中被击败。沙龙战败被认为是相当关键的一场战役，因为基督教的信仰可能在西欧消失，并且由亚洲的民族来统治这个地方。阿提拉后来入侵意大利，所以很多难民往沿岸的岛屿逃难。据说威尼斯就是这些难民建立的。尽管罗马的力量衰败，他们的重要部队，而且罗马的重要部队还在高卢，但匈人在意大利征战连连，有疾病跟饥饿，导致他们的力量也同时衰退。在一场会议中，阿提拉跟罗马教皇里奥一世会谈，统一撤退。453年，阿提拉逝世之后，就没有一位强大的领袖能够统一匈人各部，匈人帝国瓦解。匈人帝国统治的民族也起来反抗，匈人部落之间为了争夺领导权时有冲突，最后消散在另外一波由阿瓦尔人主导的入侵浪潮之中，然后匈人就从历史的舞台消失。那我们现在就要扮演阿瓦尔人，教训这些匈人。这样，第一个特色是开局人口上限直接到最大，但无法建造居住房舍，很好小微的东西，而且木材会减100。第二个是马弓骑兵的费用在城堡跟帝王会有 10% 跟 20% 的减免。第三个是巨头对单位命中率加 35%， 有到 50%。在游牧类型的地图中，建完一座 TC 就会获得一匹匈奴马，可以探路、勾羊，有很多用途。特殊单位是达拉罕骑兵，远防特别高的骑兵。那其实造价也蛮贵的，60肉60斤，跟骑士差不多了。那体质来说是100滴血，血量跟骑士一样，攻击力就少2。但是远防变3，近防变1这样子。但它对于这个建筑物跟城堡还有建筑会有额外的攻击加成，拆建筑物非常快。银冠是掠夺者，可以在马厩生产达拉罕。金冠是无神论，圣物跟世界奇观的圣地倒数时间加100年，敌人圣物的产生的资源量减 50%。胜场有拇指环安息人，然后有完整的重装马弓，然后后期也有3级射，可是没有3级防御。那弩兵没有强弩兵嘛，所以基本上匈人只能打马弓骑兵。然后战矛也 OK， 只是后期会偏软。军营的话，没有攻击软甲兵器不太能够玩，说兵是全满的 OK。马厩的话是全满的，品种跑速、游侠跟匈牙利骑兵都有。那马厩的科技也是全开的，很 OK。攻击到手的话就缺很多咯，基本上只有重冲能用，其他的很缺，毕竟是上古文明。兵工厂没有步兵3防，所以后期的骑兵也会偏软。码头没有重要的造船员，然后也只能打射船，但是有给德罗蒙。算是还能玩啦。大学的话，几乎科技都没有。那没有工程师，也没有后期的建筑学。城堡也没有围篱，血量偏少。修道院没有救赎思想，后期没有印刷技术跟神权政治。经济科技没有2级采石，还 OK。今天打的是这个阿瓦尔汗国的故事，这是一个繁中的战役啊，而且这个作者就是原作者，不是翻译的人，是我们的 C16E4 第一关父老之地。
'Twas the Danube whose banks were lined with the fallen, Whispers of death followed the gunpowder, silencing all in its path along the battlefield. For the past months, armies of the Frankish torn the Avar coalition to the shreds, sealing the fate for most of the aristocratic members of the defending tribes. Sacking the palace would have been a great pleasure to the officers and dukes, overseeing the trophied carts making their way off the ruined royal court. This is a serpentine emblem I recovered on the field, which belonged to one of the Avar tribe's collection of symbols. A regime to rule with greed and desire. Mind you, if you'd like to understand the origin of this nation, we'd need to go back a few centuries, when it rose from the plains in the east side of Europe. During the 5th century, the Avar tribes experienced immense pressure from the increasing cold and the expansion of Turkic Khanate from the eastern front. Harsh environments pushed the herdspeople further west, away from the troubles. They traveled great heights and distances, through the Caucasus and across Volga River, in hope for their new home. The herdspeople rumored that, when you pass along the rich valleys of western Carpathians, you're met with a seemingly endless plain, a place where nurturing sunlight poured over luscious grasslands, where the springs raised vast crops, almost like the promised land. Snowstorm grew difficult for the year. When the rivers froze off the agriculture. Demonic storm also pushed over the people. The north turned into badlands. Now is the time for them to carry everything they have and head west. The Avar herdspeople who heard of the promised land joined the great migration in patches, and those who lead the first waves was Khan Bayan Oras. What set them apart from other nomadic people is that the Avars were led by a small number of elites, including the Khan, which eased their complexities in managing or moving the people as a whole. The year's snowstorms has given the Avar people an almost perfect cover for their moves. Khan Bayan gathered the herd, the horses, and their people to move out. His task is to navigate through the Carpathians to reach their new home, the Pannonian Plains.
Boyan Khan's severe cold winter has blocked the way of the Turks. We can use this to advance through the westward forest.
It is no longer safe here anymore. We must move to the west, through the Karlans, find a new homeland suitable for us to live in.
要把运输车运到山谷港皇这边，运输车不能被摧毁，带领我的人民抵达新家园。人民在穿越克巴尔，不会念签，175人口会找到越多的人跟马匹，寻访各个势力，寻找可以跟我们合作的盟友。有些阵营为我们提供交易跟科技，建造市中心之后，敌人就开始进攻。阿瓦人可以建造补给帐篷，学习其他盟友的科技，可以查看一下。不简单呢。
Moving such a long distance is by no question a great move of risk, not to mention the time or the distance it takes. Some made it out of the mountains of the Carpathians, but some remained forever. Yet their numbers grew as time passed, from several hundreds to tens of thousands at their arrival. Along their way westward, tribes of many origins came and joined their ranks. Soon, the Khan joined, forced with the Lombards, to bring Gepidae and Huns to their knees and claimed their nationhood where they stood. It's not like other neighbors wouldn't notice the arrival of the Avars. One of them is the Byzantine Empire from the Balkans. Around year 560, the Avars have their messengers to Justinian. The emperor had something more solid for the visitors in his head already. Straight up, he wanted them to tell their Khan, if he wants more gold, fine, but the foes of the empire has to go. But to the nomadic people, sacking and conquering are staple means to expansion. The Khan just calculated that they should be in, regardless of the integrity or trust.
第二关，贪婪之秋。
In the court, the Avar envoys spoke of the might of Avar warriors and their majestic steeds that galloped across the plains, proposing a fair price for their iron cavalry to sweep away any foe for the empire. Their words were no boast. In years past, during their migrations, the Avars had subdued numerous nomadic tribes, arriving in the Balkans with a cavalry numbering over 20,000. The 6th century Balkan Peninsula was a time of turmoil. The Eastern Roman Empire, battered by war and plague, found its lands preyed upon by Slavs, Bulgars, and Huns. Facing threats at its borders, the Roman emperor saw employing the Avars as a beneficial strategy to counter other barbarian tribes, thereby diminishing their strength in the fray. Emperor Justinian and Khan Bayan well understood each other's needs, forging an alliance with tributes. For the Khanate was yet insufficiently powerful to challenge the Eastern Roman Empire directly, and the distant Turkic people remained a looming threat. They needed to conquer surrounding tribes, acquiring more spoils to expand their dominion. The life of wandering and fleeing must end here. The Avars, uniting with other nomadic tribes, entered the fray, regardless of the emperor's intentions. The Khan set out to subdue each opposing tribe in sight, aiming to establish the Avars as the true rulers of Pannonia. The vast steppes became an arena for horsemanship and archery, where raiders with covetous eyes turned towards the enemy's livestock and gold, seeking to claim them all through force.
We don't trust the Romans, emperors, and Lombards, but now we should focus on conquering other tribes here, to expanding our influence on Pannonian Plain. Warriors of Avars, go collect the relics from tribes to the altar and show our power on this land.
要供奉4个祭坛，所以应该是要拿到4个遗迹：毒蛇、雄鹰、富裕跟腐败。随着更多部落到这边，我们人口到180人口，大部分的部落常有一个遗迹，可以透过威胁使他臣服。打败对手，我们就无法训练他的科技以及进行交易。罗马是我们潜在敌人，盟友越多，对抗他们的力量越强。
Bayan emulated the Hunnic Attila's methods of exploiting the Eastern Roman Empire. Around the year 570, the Khan led his cavalry southward, demanding tributes from Byzantium to support their military campaigns. During this time, they subdued many Slavic tribes, pushing Lombard allies into the Italian regions. The secret to the Avar cavalry's invincibility on the Eastern European plains lay in their craftsmanship. They equipped their steeds with stirrups, a tool that allowed riders to wield their mounts in battle with ease. This technology would gradually spread to the west, altering European military tactics. Despite Khan Bayan's repeated overtures and demands for land as reward, the empire ultimately rejected this agreement, paying tributes instead. The Avar nobility well understood that their diplomatic relations with the empire were built solely on mutual interests, and they would inevitably become potential adversaries. This prophecy soon proved true. When the Eastern Roman Empire refused to surrender Gepid prisoners, the Avars took this as an affront and declared war on Byzantium, quickly escalating into a new conflict.
那我们就进入第3关咯，战争指引。
The relationship between the Avar Khanate and the Eastern Roman Empire was a tapestry of change, fraught with peculiar twists. Initially, they clashed over tributes and lands, yet later they allied against the distant Turkic Khanate, crafting splendid palaces with the Romans. Subsequently, Khan Bayan sought to increase the annual tribute from the Eastern Roman, ushering the storm of war back onto the Balkan Peninsula. The Avar armies soon reached the vicinity of Sirmium, engaging the Roman legions. This ancient city, straddling vital land and sea routes, became an inevitable battleground, for controlling it meant unlocking the passage to the south. Meanwhile, vassal states subdued by the Avar Khanate joined the raiding parties, comprised of tribes from the Slavs, herdsmen, mercenaries, and opportunists, all seeking fortune through the spoils of war. Yet despite their resentment towards the Avars, the allure of Rome's wealthy cities seemed to prioritize maintaining a beneficial relationship for further pillaging.
Boss, look there! The Avars are in combat with the Romans. Their Khan asking us to join the field.
Slavs. The Roman army has deployed a large number of fortifications in Sirmium. We need you to clear those fortresses in this area to cover our cavalries. When you clear the castles, you will receive our supports.
第一个是占领9个区域，就是这9个叉叉，然后城堡不能被摧毁，这边这一座。摧毁前沿的3个哨所，可以解锁新的时代，应该是上帝。然后要摧毁战略点，摧毁要塞跟市集。摧毁战略点会获得特殊的兵团，摧毁要塞的话会获得更多资源，摧毁市集的话应该会拿到资源吧。所有人必须记住以下的交战守则：每个战区都会有一个强力的防线跟弱点。出击前派出侦察兵找到防守薄弱点或正面突破，我们军团有限，经不起太大的战损。一个战区攻陷之后，其他战区的部署跟行为变转换，必须要在出击前决定好进攻顺序。有点容易勾引，有些会坚守战线，找出合适的配置跟攻击方式。溢出的资源都可以在市集跟帐篷继续调配。
Bastard! They're ordering our men around as junk. We can't against the Romans' army by ourselves.
They'll regret for that. Not now. We should focus on grabbing the golds from Romans to expand the wealth of our tribes.
Да, господин, делаю.
I know it must be other Slavs on the west of Danube River. We'll build our kingdom right there. Avars, one day you will pay for your greed and arrogance. Time will prove my prediction.
Приказания.
Sirmium, after enduring a prolonged siege, fell to the Avars. Yet the ancient city was ultimately reduced to ruins by the surviving Gepids. Thereafter, the frequency of conflicts between the Avars and Byzantium waned, and Khan Bayan passed away a few years later. The conquests of the Avars had far-reaching impacts on the migrations of various peoples. Unwilling to submit, some Slavic tribes left the Danube to forge new homelands. Those moving southward established the mighty Bulgarian Empire, while those migrating to the southwest took root in Croatia. Some say Khan Bayan, like Attila before him, was a leader of calculation and decisiveness. Yet Bayan was not bloodthirsty but leveraged commerce and diplomacy to amass great wealth for the Khanate. However, the more a nation relies on war and plunder for its strength, the greater the curses it attracts.
那我们就进第4关，腐败制造。
Khan Bayan's heir assumed the mantle, yet the new Khan did not inherit the governing style of his forebears. He suppressed other vassal tribes internally, frequently launching wars and raids. The internal discord within the Khanate grew, with some vassal tribes choosing to flee the Danube basin, and the belligerent Khan in the year 614 tore up the peace treaty with the Eastern Roman Empire, embarking on a massive campaign. Upon returning victorious from the campaign in Italy, distant Persian envoys brought news to the Khan. The Byzantine Empire, amidst political turmoil, presented an opportunity for the Persian Empire to propose a joint invasion with the Avar Khanate. Believing the time ripe, Bayan II decided to launch another assault on the Balkan region come next autumn. The Khan had once ambushed Emperor Heraclius during peace talks with his cavalry, but the assassination attempt, foiled by its exposure, ended in failure. A vast host of Avar troops advanced towards Constantinople, forming a siege. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman elite, battle-hardened in the mountains of Asia, were closing in from behind, preparing to strike back. On the Eastern Front, Khosrow II led his Persian forces attempting to break the Eastern Roman defenses, with both sides agreeing to converge near Constantinople. In the year 626, the siege of Constantinople began.
We got pinned down by those towers. We need rams now. The Roman army is holding Marcianopolis now. We should clear those towers and defend her. All the roads to Constantinople will be open. Use this rams to break down their barrier. Advance!
Get into the ram. Break down their house.
好，要破坏高塔占领这个近郊。我们可以维持215人口作战，跟盟友共享科技，避开军事等丁堡，利用有限资源进攻敌人的战略点。敌人的进攻跟补给不会停止。每攻下一个战略点，盟军的进攻会越强大，战斗时间拖越长，死期就越近。
Romans are striking our army behind the front. We've no longer to maintain the offensive to the city. Now we're leaving this field before the Roman army surround us.
Everyone, listen up! The siege of Constantinople has failed. Roman army starting counterattack from the east. I command you retreat to the Balkans. Leave this area immediately.
村民也是
Too many warriors in
有了有了有了。
How many years we take to recover that?
Smoke shrouded the shores of Constantinople. The setting sun, blood red, reflecting off the sea, the Golden Horn's coast covered with half-charred corpses, obscuring the water. The Avar alliance's ships were burned to ashes under the Roman navy's Greek fire. Seeing this, the Khan, in fury, ordered all siege engines be torched and commanded a retreat northward through the night. The assault on Constantinople thus ended in failure. Emperor Heraclius's forces then attacked the Persians from behind, advancing to the Persian capital of Ctesiphon in a series of counteroffensive battles. Khosrow II was assassinated by his own son, and the war between the two empires concluded with a peace treaty. For vassal states, defeat in war by their leader often meant defection. Many Slavic and Bulgar tribes seized the opportunity to flee from the Khanate. After the Khan's death in 630, disputes over succession split the Khanate into factions, leading to a civil war between the Avar Khanate and the Bulgarian Khanate. Long-term civil strife led to the Avar Khanate's loss of eastern lands and dominance in Eastern Europe, replaced swiftly by the Bulgarians on the Balkan Peninsula. The last visit of Avar envoys to the Eastern Roman Empire was recorded around 670, after which the Avar Khanate vanished like a ghost from history for a century, with no one knowing what transpired.
那我们就第5关了，毁灭之始。
Europe whispers a tale. It was the Khans and the Eastern Roman emperors who led the Avar Khanate towards decline, but it was Charlemagne, the Frankish emperor, who ushered in their doom. In the year 787, as Charlemagne's legions marched towards Bavaria, the Duke of Bavaria and the Lombard princess sought aid from their Avar allies. The new Khan, eager to establish his prestige through victory, set forth to rejuvenate the once mighty Khanate with warfare, swiftly advancing towards Bavaria. Though the nomadic warriors who once rode with Khan Bayan had faded with the years, a multitude of vassal infantry and new recruits joined the ranks, dispatched to Bavaria to aid allies recently repelled by the Frankish forces. Once Khan Bayan led the Avar troops to defeat the Franks at the Rhine. Would they, like their ancestors, drive away their old foes once more?
Bad news, sire. The Duke of Bavaria has been forced to withdraw. We, however, will continue the fight.
进攻4个区域：采矿、果树、野战高塔跟工坊区。军队抵伐巴尔洛亚可以支持224人口。矮树丛跟桥适合防御工事，阻挡对手。利用投石车清除树林障碍。进攻之前如果没有清除多外围的营地，驻军会不断骚扰我们。攻势菜越多，盟军可以提供越多资源。可以在占领纪念物的时候，在该区修炼建筑物，阻止敌人进攻。轻轻松松。他跟我这样讲。
A century of settled ease had dulled the Avar's might. The Khan's forces were easily vanquished by the Franks in Bavarian battle, exposing the Khanate's vulnerabilities. The decline of the Avar Khanate and their amassed wealth in the Balkans caught Charlemagne's eye. It was said that the Avar court hoarded treasures beyond count, plundered from afar, and the decaying Khanate could no longer guard this gold. Charlemagne swiftly launched a crusade, claiming the Avars and Lombards had stolen the gold of his ancestors and called upon the Franks and Italians to reclaim their ancient treasures, amassing a grand army for the eastward march. So a century ago, men greedily seized endless riches only to be devoured by their own desires as the gates of hell were poised to open.
第6关，地狱之门。
The year 790 marked the decisive conflict upon the Danube. Charlemagne, having moved his capital to Aachen in preparation for the Eastern campaign, saw the Frankish kingdom's military reformed, training a formidable cavalry and knightly orders to challenge the Avars' once unrivaled horsemen. Charlemagne and the Italian coalition swiftly swept through the Danube, decimating the Slavic vassal armies of the Avars. Frankish forces poured into the Danube battlefront, encircling the Avar forces from both north and south, pressing towards the capital, Budapest. A series of defeats and internal strife brought the Khanate to the brink of collapse. Now, with the Frankish army nearing the Avar court, the Khan and tribal chieftains marshaled all their might, constructing circular fortresses in the palace to withstand the impending onslaught. After a succession of defeats, despair and helplessness spread through the tents, some choosing flight to the north. Yet, even as defeat loomed large, Avar warriors, shouldering traditional composite bows and spears, chose to battle to the end against their foes, as fearless as their ancestors who migrated westward to Pannonia, undaunted in the face of oblivion. Winter snow blanketed the roads, fires and thick smoke rose from the pine forests near the banks, as armies from both nations advanced towards this hellish battlefield. This deadly conflict would seal the fate of the Khanate.
Hey, where are you going? You're leaving the field.
Frankish main forces marching here. That's suicide until we keep staying this place. Now it's time to leave this cursed field.
You're coward. Get back here. Where's everyone? I must meet them immediately.
第一个是获胜条件是跟一般战斗很像那样子，见到奇观、夺取生物、消灭敌人都 OK。那大部分精锐在战场上阵亡，我们还可以支援225人口进行作战，也许还有其他幸存者。反复在地图上发送闪光命令盟军强制进攻特定部队，集中火力破坏城墙，战线的缺口越大，盟军渗透地点越多，无法打败对手。集中所有火力进攻战略点，取得胜利。
Losing this battlefield, I think it's time to stop. Your leader has surrendered to our king not long before. Then you should lay down your weapons. You can go, though, to the camps on the north, then join our ranks of the church. After that, you'll obtain your own residence soon. Or you can just go the east. People hate you there. Your choice.
But it's the fate you choose.
Most Avar nobility perished upon the Danube. The Khan and nobles rumored to be secretly executed by Charlemagne's order in the Aachen court. Regardless, the Avar Khanate was erased from history after their defeat, the remnants fleeing eastward to Bulgaria or hiding in the Caucasus. This nation, from its zenith to decline, spanned scarcely 2 centuries. Had the Avars chosen to develop in Pannonia, avoiding wars with the West, might their fate have been different? Some believe it was their endless greed and disdainful view of others that made the Khanate a target of envy and conflict, ultimately inviting their destruction. History is filled with what-ifs, yet we concern ourselves only with the victor's outcome. For soon, the name of this nation will be forgotten. May the time we spend on this story gift you with the teachings of the history, equipping you to rule wisely, witness the remains of the Avar settlements, as they will soon become history too. The plains of Pannonia would welcome its new overlords. In no time. Yet this time it's no business for the Frankish, the Bulgarians, or either the Moravians, but us, the Magyarok. H and I, Arpad, will lend my hand to bring prosperity to all of our tribes as a nation here, stronger than ever. Let us begin.
那各位，我们今天这场直播到这边，喜欢我们直播欢迎点赞、订阅、开启小铃铛，然后一起来直播上面聊天。